Hey, good morning to you. It's a little late dose. I'm getting a little lazy here, getting a little slack. Listen, it is a beautiful Wednesday morning here in sunny Florida. There's a little bit of clouds in the sky. I'd love to know where you're chiming in from. I always love to know who's watching, where you're chiming in from. Where are you listening from? Is it somewhere warm? Is it somewhere tropical? Is it somewhere cold up north? I know I have some viewers from up north, and if you're listening and watching right now, whether it's live or on the replay, I'd love to know where you are listening, where you're watching from. Drop that down in the chat. Let's converse. Let's connect. I am going to share with you a secret of how my students, my top students, are not just losing weight, but losing weight and keeping off. If you jumped on here and you want to know not just how to lose weight, because pretty much if you're doing anything different than what you're doing now, as far as like taking in less calories or maybe not drinking as much alcohol or avoiding the snacks or fasting or ketoing or whatever you're doing, right? Or maybe starting to work out, you're going to have some results, right? But that's not the key. The key to weight loss is losing weight and keeping it off. And I want to share with you how my top students are doing that. And it's honestly, you're gonna say to yourself, Mark, it makes so much sense. And it's exactly why I struggle. And I'm gonna actually help you because my goal, I'm on a pursuit to help 1,000 people in this next year. I don't have 1,000 people in my program. Now you're like, program? What program? Well, I offer a coaching program. It's a one-on-one coaching program. If you want information about it, just send me a private message. This isn't a shameless plug, but this is my livelihood. It's partly why I come on here to share with you and give you as much value as I can. Also, who the heck? I'm not going to invest in somebody I don't know. I want to make sure he's getting results. Well, unless you just jumped on here, feel free to scroll through my feed and see the success stories, and we're getting more and more success stories. I'm going to share with you one of a student who lost over 30 pounds. She's crushing it. I'll be posting that later, so stay tuned. But you want to know, well, Mark, okay, fine, that's all good about them. How is this going to help me? Where are you chiming in from? Virginia, sunny Pittsburgh. Welcome from Virginia. Welcome, Lana, and welcome, Wendy. And if you're getting in this live, just drop live. If you're catching a replay, just drop a replay so I know when you watch, so I can come back and check in and say hello. So how are my top students losing weight and keeping off? That is it. Let's jump right in. It's very, very simple. I want you right now, this is a practical daily dose. This dose is actually requiring you to do a little bit of work. Last night we had a great, I do a live training for my students every week inside my inner circle. And we go on live and it varies. Sometimes we do, cooking, nutrition, educational, weight loss. We even have some experts come in, spiritual. My wife, who's a nurse practitioner, she comes in and does talks. We have a lot of guest speakers, mix of different things. It's all for value, all for helping. So that's obviously part of it, but that's not what I'm talking about. But we had people show up last night and we did a stretch class. It was so much fun. We did it in my backyard. It literally started to downpour just when we got finished. That was another story. But here's it. They showed up. But here's what they did. And this is very, very important to get right now. I want you to get a piece of paper. Now, you might have to pause this, or maybe after the live, go back and watch it, or go back and you need to get a piece of paper. It could be a pad, like a pad like this and so forth. And I want you to write, I'm going to just show you the top of the pad. I want you to write a line, but I want you to write in this pad, and it's backwards maybe. I want you to write on the left side, everyone else. And then I want you to write on, so just like a little T timetable, right? On the left side, you can put everyone else. And let's see if you can do this on everyone else. And then on the right side, you're going to put you. And then at the top, you're just going to put time. And I want you to think about when you're doing this, how much time, not even the effort, right? Effort counts, right? You got to do how much time literally in a day. And then you can go through, you can even start by writing the things that you're doing for everyone else. Maybe you're taking care of cleaning, groceries, maybe you're working your business, that sort of stuff. Maybe you're helping people that you work with. You go to work for 8 hours. Maybe you got to walk the dog. I'm talking everyone else, dogs included, taking care of your pets, taking care of your house, taking care of maybe your kids going to school, or making sure they're all set up like our kids, or one's going to be going in college and doing all that. So you're doing for everyone else. I want you to put that on the left side. And then I want you to put on the right side, you. And I want you to put how much time we're talking here. We're talking time. Not all, you can write all the things, but I want you to write how much time you're doing for everyone else. And then I want you on the right side to write how much time you're taking out for you to lose weight, to get in shape, to get healthy. How much time are you actually putting in to your needs? Oh, but Mark, that's the most selfish thing anybody could ever do. I can't take out an hour of my day and meal prep. I just don't have that. Everybody else requires me to help them and take care of them. And I get it. Now, I'm not saying to not take care of your family. Now, if you have little ones, chances are you're watching. Most of my audience they don't have little ones. Maybe you have grandchildren, right? And even that, there's the excuse is that now your next stage is you're taking care of everybody else's needs, including now your grandchildren, because your kids are older and they're out of the house, right? And guess what happened? Then you're like, oh, well, let me just start doing what I'm comfortable doing. I'm used to taking care of kids. Now you're taking care of your grandchildren. And don't get me wrong, we had parents that took care of grandchildren and stuff, but that took away from you taking care of you. So again, if you're catching this live, I want you to know live, if you're in here, if you're catching the replay, we're talking about how my top students, and here's the difference. What I help my top students do is help make more time for you. Help carve out time for you. Now, how do you do that? Now, here's the thing. You're like, oh, Mark, you just don't understand my schedule. Well, I don't understand your schedule, and I didn't understand my students that are in my program schedules either until they shared with me what they're doing and how they're spending their time. And guess what? We actually broke down and we looked at how they're spending time. Ones that have constraints on busyness and schedules and timing. And I have to ask the hard question as a coach, and I'm here to ask you this hard question. What's most important? Now, you're going to say, well, most important are my kids and my husband and, my work. Yes, true. So you want to so with that said, if their family and maybe your faith, of course, all those things, and maybe even church and volunteering and serving and all those things that you're doing in the community, and they're amazing. And you're going to say, most of you will say, well, those are the most important things. That's why they take up most of my time. Great. I agree. But don't you think that if you're going to put all of your time and all of your effort and your energy into everyone else, you can kind of list the category. What you're going to do is put on one side everyone else. Don't you think you should probably be at your absolute best to be able to serve them and help them and give to them and be a giver? Don't you think it would be worth carving some time out for you? Here's what happens when people come into my Lean Body Breakthrough Coaching Program. I force them, they have to. In fact, they have to give me. Does it require hours and hours of time? No. In fact, that's the beautiful thing. When you're doing the right thing, when you're making the right choices, when you have the right guidance, when you have the right kind of support, when you have accountability, when you're required to check in on a weekly basis, and when you're required to show up, that requires some time that I demand from my students. And guess what? It pays off. You know how it pays off? When they start to carve out time, me time, when you start to carve out me time, and it can be maybe as simple as a 10-minute walk. It could be as simple as instead of staying up late and watching Netflix, you're like, no, that's me time. I'm talking like not like zombie time and like avoidance time. I'm talking like you time, taking care of you, doing things. Perfect example. Going to bed a half hour earlier. And you're like, well, no, that's lazy. You rest when you're dead. I'm a firm believer in that too, but you need rest in order to be your best. So if you go to bed a half hour early, that can be something that you are doing to help on the everyone else side. Does that make sense? I want to know if this makes sense to you. Like, to me, it's not something that was common sense, but it's something that I truly believe my top students are realizing that they have to carve out some time. It doesn't need to be half of your day. It doesn't need to be a quarter of your day. Heck, my top students literally are carving out a little bit of extra time, because a little bit of extra time, guess what, is going to benefit everyone else. And here's what's really cool. When you see the value in the time you take for taking care of yourself, just as a lot of my students do, they say, Mark, wow, like last night we had a stretch session. We did an hour's worth and I did instructional. I taught the values of stretching and flexibility. And we actually literally did a class in my backyard. Now it wasn't in person, they were online. We did a Zoom stretch class. It was awesome. And we all took an hour out. They carved out an hour of their time for them. Now, yes, they showed up for me, but it was for them because we learned how to stretch. They got the knowledge that they needed to understand how important flexibility and stretching is, especially as we get older. And guess what? That was an hour they carved out of their life. They can't get it back, but I know it was valuable, more valuable than just, and don't get me wrong, I think I like to think of myself as a giver. And you probably are as well. And if you're a parent or if you're, have a business or you run a business or you work, any kind of, if you're an adult, chances are you're somewhat of a giver. And sometimes we can fall into this little stage where everyone else is the only side that you have your time spent in and there's nothing left for you. So I'm going to encourage you today, it being Wednesday, and everybody's trying to pull you at both ends, like, right? Your kids are pulling you, your boss is pulling you, your neighbors are pulling you, your family members are pulling you. Sometimes you need to just say no to them, And you're like, Mark, it's so hard. Yes, it is, especially if you're trying to do it by yourself, in order for you to say yes. Because here's when you start to say yes to you and putting more time on this side, even if it starts with 10 or 15 minutes, guess what? You're investing in yourself. You're investing time in yourself. Now, you want to know how it really works for people, because the hard thing is breaking old habits, bad habits. If you've been taking care of everyone else for years and years and years and years and not taking care of yourself, that's a hard habit to actually get away from. Well, the good news is there are people like me, coaches and mentors like me, who will demand that you start to take better care of you. And guess what happens? The value is so, like the reward. Forget the Bitcoins and the Dogecoins and all that. You're talking about those financial investments. Those are all great. Don't get me wrong. You want to go into all that kind of cryptocurrency stuff. And let me tell you, the most valuable currency that you have, is time, because you don't get any more. When your time is done, it's done. So if you're just out there, hey, yeah, but I want to secure my kids, their future and make sure my parents are taken care of and all those things, then guess what happens? Then you're left empty. So I'm going to say, keep pouring into your family, keep taking time out, but don't discount the value that you have to do for you in order, if you want to lose weight like my top students, and not only lose weight, but actually keep it off. Because truly the difference when you keep it off is because you realize the value of the time you're giving to yourself. You're giving to yourself so you can give back to everyone else. And not only give back, you can give back your best, not a half-assed effort. Does that make sense? Good morning to you, Kathy and Susan. I appreciate you for being on. Some of my top students, they're showing up this morning for the daily dose. They see value in that to help encourage them. Again, if you get that encouragement, here's the thing I hate. People tell me this all the time. I say hate is a strong word. They talk about motivation. I'm just not motivated. I'm lazy. Motivation isn't something you get. Motivation is something you have. You just have to be motivated. The motivation could be simply this. You have kids that require your attention. You have a family that requires. You have a business, a work. You must realize that there is a direct relationship between one and the other. Like there's a direct relationship. And I say give everything you got to them, but don't do it at the expense that you're not taking any time for you. Does that make sense? When you can get that mindset right. And how do you do that? Can you do it on your own? I haven't seen too many people do really well. I don't do it on my own. I have coaches and mentors that pour into me, that help keep me on the path, that help make sure I take time for me so that I can be the best for my coaching students, so I can be the best for my family, so I can be the best for my wife and my business. And you have that in you as well. Now, if you are all by yourself in this, if you have no support system, if you're like, Mark, that sounds good on paper, I love that idea, but you don't know my life. Well, that's the value of having a coach, of having a mentor. Any of my students that are listening right now, feel free to drop it in. I don't ask for plugs often, and you don't have to. But I can say is if you've been working with me any period of time and you found value in actually, not so much me, in taking time out for you, Please drop that in there and share with the audience of people, whether you're watching right now live or you're catching this on the replay. That truly is the difference from if you want to be at the best, become the best of the best for yourself. If you want to get this freaking weight off, 30, 40, 80, 100 pounds off, and you want to live the life that you want to live and be as healthy as you want to be, then I highly suggest that you realize that you can't only do for everyone else. You have to take some time out for you. And it can start with just a little 10-minute walk. If you want information, shoot me a message, shoot me a private message. I'm not the right fit. I'm not the right coach for everyone. But if you are serious and you're ready and you need support, if you need accountability, if you want to be in our Inner Circle family and come join my army, we're building this army. If you want to be a part of my army of warriors, of fit warriors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, even a few in their 70s, reach out to me and we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. Take care and God bless. We'll see you soon.